Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending today's webinar. Last webinar for the year. Finally, here we are at the end of another year. I can't believe it that another year has gone by so quickly. So hopefully everybody's looking forward to a nice Christmas break and getting ready for time off from work, and also, hopefully getting a few projects finalised before the end of the year. Okay, so in this month's webinar, we are going to go through standards 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 8.1 and 8.2. These standards are mainly around governance and policy that we'll be having a look at today. So, so all good. Excellent. Thank you, everybody, I've got a couple of people sending messages through. Excellent. Thank you very much. And we've got a few people attending today, which is awesome. Okay, there we go. Sorry, didn't have a video on. Okay, so hold on. That's 0. Okay, so standards 7.1 and 7.2. So basically, with these standards, we're looking at what are the roles within the organisation, and who's responsible for what. So standard 7.1 is this should be in the position description of senior management of what is their role, and that's mainly with 7.1 is that whoever's responsible for compliance has that in their position description. It's signed off that they're responsible for that. It should also be whoever signs the CEO stat deck as the CEO, or anybody who signs a fit and proper person form. It should also be in their position description that they're responsible for ensuring that that the RTO complies with the standards at all times. And the best way to do this is to conduct yearly annual audits. So we recommend that you should have at least one audit a year where you're conducting an internal audit, or what's best is if you actually get someone else to come in and actually do the audit at your premises. 7.2 is the CEO and other senior management are responsible for ensuring that the RTO is financially viable at all times. With financial viability, so if you're in an initial registration, standard 7.2 comes into play, where you will be required to complete a financial viability assessment, risk assessment, and that needs to be completed before you go off, before you submit your application to ASQA. But what can happen, so it used to be in the old days, what you used to have to do is everybody going for re-registration would also have to do financial viability, but that's no longer. They're not requiring re-reggers to now do financial viability, but what this standard basically says is anybody at any time, the RTO at any time can be undertake a financial assessment if there's any concerns with regards to the financial viability status of the RTO. So they basically have this clause in so that ASQA at any time can go in and do a financial viability risk assessment. And that's basically those two standards. They're pretty basic. 7.1 is that you'll ensure that the RTO is compliant at all times, and 7.2 is that you'll ensure that it's financially viable at all times. Standard 7.3 is around fee protection policy. So it's around all your fees and how you have them set up within your payment structure. So it will be in your policies and procedures, but it will also be in your sorry, I'm just going to see if I can open up the policy and procedure manual. Yep. It'll also be on your course flyers, so your fee protection will be in there, and it will also be on. It could be on your enrollment form. So I'm going to have a look at that one today as well. And we're going to have a look at the course flyer. So I'll just have a quick look at the course flyer. So I'm just going to share my screen and show you these just after I go through all these. So all prepaid fees include all fees paid in advance from individual learners and prospective students. These requirements do not apply to employers engaging the RTO to provide training assessment. So where an employer is paying the training organisation for the delivery of training, you don't need to have fee protection around prepaid fees. But if it's an individual who's paying for their fees, you need to have some sort of fee protection structure. And basically, the one that we mainly go with is the students do not pay more than $1,500 prior to course commencement. So I'm just going to pull up the policy and procedure on this so we can have a look at that one. I'll just share my screen. Okay. So I'm just bringing up the policies and procedures from the Q&C manual, which is your protecting prepaid fees. So we have three main ways that you as an RTO can protect your fees. So threshold prepaid fees, unconditional financial guarantee, tuition assurance scheme. The preferred method that we go with is the threshold prepaid fees, because that's the cheapest for you as an RTO is to do that. Whereas the unconditional financial guarantee, you've got to get a bank guarantee from the bank, or you get tuition assurance scheme where you pay a company for tuition assurance. So we'll go down into that a bit further. So with the threshold prepaid fee, that is that the RTO will not take more than $1,500 per individual student per progress payment. So you can take a so for example, if you had a $3,000 course, you could take $1,500 prior to course commencement and then $1,500 following course commencement. But the progress fees should be broken up over the period of the course. So it shouldn't be that they start the course and then the very next day they're paying the remainder of the fees. Those fees should be broken up over the duration of the course. So if it was a $3,000 course and the course was going for 10 weeks, then those payment fees should go over the 10-week period. So what we recommend is you take the $1,500 and then you have a payment plan following that, where the students are paying fees over the final duration of the course. So the purpose of this, the whole purpose around 7.3 is to protect the student just in case you as an RTO shuts down. So they want to have a mechanism in place to ensure that your students are protected if anything happens to the RTO. So you're not taking all their fees up front, and then if anything happens to a student or the student decides to withdraw, you do not have the money to pay the student back. So that's why they've got fee protection, is so that you take a deposit and then there's progress payments following that. So we do $1,500 on commencement and then progress payments throughout the course. So the unconditional financial guarantee is if you get a bank guarantee from the bank. So the guarantee is for an amount no less than the total amount of the fees. And what happens is the bank guarantee covers, so the student can pay the fee in advance. You can have access to that money. But if anything happens, it's like insurance with the bank. You have an unconditional financial guarantee where you can pay those students back if anything happened, if the student decided to withdraw. Then they've also got the tuition assurance scheme. Now, if you are a CRICOS provider, you will be required to get tuition assurance scheme. That is a requirement under the CRICOS, the national code, is that all CRICOS providers have tuition assurance scheme in place. Now, the only place where you can get tuition assurance scheme at the moment is through the ACPEC, the Australian Council of Private Education and Training. So you'll need to, and I know we've got a couple of clients online at the moment who are CRICOS providers, so you'll need to go and have a look at that, and you'll need to have that in place just before following registration, because the auditors will want to see that you have the tuition assurance scheme in place before you're able to get up and going as an RTO. So what we recommend, go to ACPEC. So we've got ACPEC is the name of the organisation. I'll just see if I can find the web link for you. Tuition. And I'll give you a link to the tuition assurance scheme. Okay. All right, where are we? Back. Oh. I've lost my page. Oh, there we go, I think. Nope, it's not that one. That one, right, chat. Okay, so here's a link to ACPEC where you can have a look at the tuition assurance scheme. So there are your three options for ensuring that the students' fees are protected. Now, we've got in here that, and with fee protection, you need to be clear and transparent with all of the fees prior to course commencement, so there's no surprises with the fees. So one of the things that we recommend is on your course flyer, we have the payment plan structure. We have all your course fees on there. If there's any additional fees, that's listed on there. So this one's just a template for the course flyer. And this is where you'll need to adjust the course fees. And it's got to be clear and transparent prior to course commencement what all of those fees are. So, for example, if you have students who come to your organisation who are required to buy their own textbooks, you need to include under the course fees, the fees for the course, but also the fees for the textbooks. Now, it's up to you whether you want to charge for the textbooks separately or included in the course. It's up to you how you do that. If you do, either way, it needs to be clear and transparent what they are to pay for. So if they're going to pay for textbooks in addition to the course fees, then it needs to be clear and transparent on the marketing that you will be doing that. It also needs to be clear and transparent if you are charging an administration fee. So we have a standard of $150 administration fee and whatever your deposit and your progress payments are. So you can see on here, we've got a deposit of $500. Following that would be 50% of the course, 25%, and then 25%. So that's how we've broken it down in there. And any additional fees. So if there's any additional fees for a student to do a course with you, so for example, they might have to do a police record check, or they might have a license outcome where they have to go through another regulatory body, for example, RSA, you would need to put it on the course flyer, what those additional fees are, and what's the process of paying for those additional fees. That should be clear and transparent on the marketing material as well. We also have it on the enrollment form. We have on the back, we have some information in there. So you'll see we've got a little yellow highlight on the back of the enrollment form. That's if you want to change the administration fee. So we've got $50 there if you want to make it $150. Now it's up to you what you make the administration fee. You can be $50, $150, $200. You can make the administration fee whatever you want. We have a standard of $150 for administration fee, but it's totally up to you what you want the administration fee to be. That administration fee is non-refundable. So when they pay that administration fee, and if they decide to withdraw from the course, they can get a refund minus the administration fee. So whatever you set that fee at. And it's really up to you what you set it at. We recommend $150 or more. It'll depend on how much work's involved by you as a training organisation to set them up, to get them all ready to go in a course. So it might be that you need to charge more in the administration fee. And you'll also see that we've got certificate reissue fees on there as well. So it's $80 for a certificate reissue. Certificate reissues in general are around about $50, but ASQA are going to charge $80 using the USI to do a certificate reissue. So we recommend just go with the same fee that ASQA will be charging because they're better off getting it from the RTO than they are from ASQA. So we've put in there $80, but once again, you can change that fee. You can charge whatever you like for a certificate reissue, but that's what we recommend is $80. And then we've got fee protection down here in this section here, where we've said we will not take more money than $1,500 prior to course commencement and no more than $1,500 in incremental payments. So you're just going to be clear and transparent on all of your materials, what your fees will be. And that's mainly what ASQA want to know, is that it's clear and transparent to the student what their fees will be, and so there's no surprises. So they don't get an additional fee on top later on down the track. They know what the fees are before they get started. So the threshold prepaid fee, this fee protection measure is ensured that the RTO does not charge any more than $1,500 prior to course commencement or as progress payments. It must be clear how the progress payments are to be paid for by the student. Unconditional financial guarantee and tuition assurance scheme. So the first one is a bank guarantee. So you'll need to go to your bank if you decide to do that. It's not compulsory to do this. If you are happy with not taking more than $1,500 increments, you don't have to get a bank guarantee. It's only if you want to be able to access that funding earlier. So if you want students to pay in full prior to course commencement, you'll need to have a bank guarantee or tuition assurance scheme in place first before you're able to take full fees up front. Once again, this is just to protect the student, to make sure that you're not taking their fees and that they lose their fees forever if something happens to the RTO. Okay, that's standard 7.3. Standard 7.4 is all about public liability insurance. This is all dependent on the size and scope of your registration. It's recommended that you get professional indemnity insurance, but it's not a requirement of this standard. This standard just states that you must have public liability insurance in place and that it's sufficient to cover the operations of training and assessment. So if you are doing work placement as part of your training, you need to make sure that your students are covered for work placement. If you have a requirement that a student is required to use high-risk equipment, then your public liability insurance should cover those students using high-risk equipment. So that's what standard 7.4 is that you must have public liability insurance, but it must meet the size and scope of your operations and protect your students under that insurance. Should also have in place any other business insurances. So you'll need to have work cover insurance in place. It could be a professional indemnity is one that we recommend. You might want to have business liability insurance. So that's where you are protected as the CEO if something happens to you. There's a mechanism for fees to be covered by insurance. So your insurance covers you just in case you have an accident or something like that. Okay. So that's standard 7.4. Nice, easy one this month. We're going to be pretty quick as well because December, we're getting to the end of the year. Okay, standard 7.5 is all around data provision requirements. So these are covered under DPR4 and DPR6. DPR4 is, so that's data provisioning regulations. 4 is all around event misreporting, and we'll be talking about that in the webinar in February. Where I'll actually go through the whole process of how to submit an event miss report. So we'll be having a look at that then. DPR6 is your quality indicator reporting. So data provision regulation 6 is quality indicator, and they're not due till the end of June. And we'll be going through that clause at the start of June, and I'll be going through the process on how to submit a quality indicator report in June. So nice and easy one. That one we don't have to worry about till later. This is event misreporting. So with event misreporting, we collect all the data on the back of the enrollment form. So everywhere where it says event miss data collection, so it's on the front of the enrollment form, sorry. This is all the data we need to collect for the government in order, as part of the event misreporting requirements. Now, there's going to be some slight changes with the requirements of the new event misreporting requirements. So they've made some changes with the what goes into the event reporting requirements, and I'm just going to bring up the new form, which we haven't actually released yet, but there's a new form that we're working on at the moment, which is, it must be under this one, Master Docs. Master Documents. So we've got a new enrollment form that's coming out. On the new enrollment form, that form is going to include and where we go, I don't think that one's right. In here. I'll just see, sorry, I don't seem to be able to find it because I only edited it earlier this year. So let's see if I can find it. So on the enrollment form is a variety of data that we need to collect on behalf of the government. Here we go. Yep. Okay, I'll just share my screen now and you can have a look at this. Yep. Okay. So the form will come up soon. So the main difference with the new enrolment form compared to the old enrolment form is that the new, and just see if I can move these side by side so you can see the difference of what these two are going to look like. Okay, so you might be able to pick it already. So under 3 for sex, we now have gender neutral. So we have gender, female, male, and other. Whereas before we had just female and male. So that's one of the ones that's changed because we now have the option for gender neutral. So that's to meet the discrimination laws for people who don't have a specific gender. So we also have 2 options for an email address instead of just one now. So they have an alternative email address, and I think there was something that was removed from memory. Oh, fax. Fax has been removed because no one has a fax number anymore. So we don't have that one in there anymore. So the other thing that's changed in the EVETMIS data is they've just changed some of the data that's collected here. So we had language and cultural diversity. We've still got that, but it's some of them had just changed slightly. I'm trying to remember. So I know some of the numbers had changed, and I think it was highest qualification. Qualifications. I think it might have been, there was a couple of other minor adjustments that they had made. I'm just trying to see what else it is. Might have been, oh yeah, that's right. The year that you completed school, that had changed. So in what year did you complete? I'm sure it was highest education. I have to have a look at that. I don't think this is the latest one, but they made some changes. There was gender, but there was also around disabilities had changed, and also the highest qualification that you achieved at school. So National Advanced Diploma. Oh, okay, certificates other than the above, whereas they had other education before, including certificates or overseas qualifications. So that's the new one that's been added now. Instead of just certificates other than above, they're actually saying, do you have any qualifications overseas that need to be recognised as well? So they have those in there. So minor changes to the enrolment form. So I'll make sure that this enrolment form is actually uploaded to Unicorn, because I don't think we've got that latest one uploaded to Unicorn. So I'll get that uploaded for you guys to have a look at that. Okay. All right. We'll get back to slides. Okay. All right. So that's the main changes with the enrolment form. Not yet. So Diana's just left a message saying, is the new enrolment form on Unicorn list yet? I don't think it is. So I'll check that after the webinar and make sure that the latest one is on there. So, and I'll just change, because I can see it's September 17 in there. So I'll do an update with it just to make sure that it's the most current version that's in there. I think I was reviewing it at the same time that I wrote the CRICOS enrolment form. But we just hadn't updated that in there. So I'm going to do a review of that before we, after I finish this webinar, to make sure you got the most current one on there. So I'll check out Unicorn just to see what version's on there. But it's, as I said, it's minor change. And if you have adapted your enrolment form to meet your organisation's requirements, you might want to do a cross-check between the old enrolment form and the new one to see what those changes are. And I'll just see if I can find documents, enrolment form. No, so it has the 2016. So I'll upload that new 2017 version straight after this webinar, and I'll just put some notes in there. What are the changes to that form? Okay. All right. The next one is quality indicator. So this is you get this document from industry.gov.au. Every single student who you have through your RTO must complete a learner questionnaire from the quality indicator form. So these documents are available on Unicorn. You can download these from Unicorn and start using them. This quality indicator survey form must go to every single student who commences a course with your organisation. One of the ones that I recommend is, if you're doing long courses, is that you do this one towards the end, and we have a survey form that you should also use that gives a bit more feedback. So it would be better for you to get more feedback on what you are actually doing within your RTO. But this one's actually a requirement of the government. You must do this quality indicator survey form. Okay, standard 8.1 and 8.2. Basically, these standards just say that you will coordinate with the government and in the conduct of audits, completing all the required forms, doing the CEO stat deck. If there's any changes to your organisation, like you get a new venue, you start delivering overseas, you add a partner, you have a change of directors, standard 8.1 and 8.2 states that you must update ASPR of any of those changes. Now, you can update ASPR of those changes by going on to asparnet.gov.au, where you can do an update. So this is once you've become an RTO and you are registered, then you can update your details with the government and make sure that they have the most current address of your location, but also your other delivery sites. So it's basically under this standard, it says that you must keep ASPR informed of any changes. There you go. So that's the end of that one. I'm just trying to think. Oh, yes, I've had updated this. This is awesome. Okay. So I had a prior appointment to the webinar today, and I anticipated that I could have been running late. So we made sure that we got this PowerPoint ready for today's webinar today. Okay. So that's it with the standards. Nice and easy one for this month. We always do an easy one at the end of the month because I know you're going to be pretty busy doing lots of other things. If you have any questions about anything, it can be about these standards or any other standards, or any question in general that you would like to ask about compliance or RTOs or anything like that, this is your opportunity to put a question in the chat box on the left-hand side of your screen. We will be closing down for the Christmas period. So we actually close down. Our last day will be Thursday, the 21st of December, 2017. And we'll be here till close of business at 5 o'clock on that Thursday. So we will not be open on the Friday, the 22nd December. So if you've got any documents that need to get to your client liaison officer, it needs to get there by no later than Thursday morning, really. If you need anything actioned, has to be before that Thursday. So that's your cutoff date for when we break for the Christmas break. And then we reopen on Monday, the 8th of January, 2018 at 8:30 a.m. So, yeah, we'll be having a little break. I'm hoping everyone else will be having a great break over the Christmas period. I know it's been a very, very busy year for us here at this office, so I'm assuming you guys have been extremely busy as well. Thank you very much for working with us this year. It's been a great pleasure having you guys along and to be able to help you out with your compliance, but also with the business side of your business. So I have a question. As I am playing a multiple role in the RTO, do I need to sign multiple position descriptions and add them to my staff files? Good question, Joy. Yes, I would put do multiple. So for you in your position, Joy, you'll need to do principal executive officer. You'll also need to do a CEO position description and a trainer assessor position description, and just have them all in your file. So you don't need to get anybody to sign off on them. You just sign. You just sign to say that you agree to be responsible for these tasks and roles within this position. So that's a good question. So that's a good question. That's something that didn't relate to today's session, but yes, yeah, if you can do your when you are working within an RTO, it needs to be clear and transparent who's responsible for managing what areas in your organisation. So there are many position descriptions that we have in our documents on Unicorn. Have a look at them. You can contextualise them to your organisation. So if you see something on your if you see look at the position description and identify that it doesn't actually sufficiently cover what you do within your role, by all means add other roles into the position description. But also, if you're happy with just the way the position description is, just leave it the way it is. Good question. All right, that's it for Christmas. So, our Christmas break, that's when we're going to be breaking up. Now, due to the first Monday of the month being that first week of January when we're all on annual leave mode, the next webinar will be Monday the 15th of January at 3 o'clock on Monday the 15th of January. So it'll be mid-January, not the start of January. Everybody will receive an invite to that webinar. So that's a special time webinar. We've got that mid-January. Also a nice easy one. Actually, I think we do go through TASs though in that webinar. So it's a good opportunity January is a very good time to review all your training and assessment strategies. So that's why we have that one at the start of the year, so that you can do a review of your training and assessment strategies while you're in a quiet period. So that's when the next webinar will be. So hopefully we'll see you all there at that next webinar. And then that's it for today. I don't know where my last slide's gone, but anyway, there it is. Thank you very much for attending today's session. It's been awesome working with you guys this year. I'm getting some thank yous here. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with you guys as well. I really have enjoyed having you guys on board, and we've got some awesome clients, and we've had an outstanding year this year with our clients, and we're looking forward to a lot more things happening in 2018, a lot of exciting things happening in 2018. With the first lot being, we have about 4 CRICOS audits that we're going to. So that's very exciting that we're going to be doing those. After all the work that we've been doing so far for CRICOS, now is the pointy end of the stick where we actually get to put it into place and actually review all of our documentation in an ASCA audit process. Now, we've actually had ASCA auditors already go through our policies and procedures, so we're feeling fairly confident with it, but it's never the same as actually going through an actual ASCA audit. So yeah, exciting times ahead. If anybody's thinking about putting CRICOS on their scope, we're doing that now. So yeah, we can certainly assist you with that. So thank you very much for attending today. Merry Christmas, and have a wonderful break. Really get some rest. I know I will be. And I look forward to catching up with you in the new year. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.